Good morning.
Good morning.
What a beautiful song. My talk title is Our Glorious Possibilities, without knowing that Candace had picked that song this morning, so I was moved in the parking lot. But I'm particularly moved right now in thinking about opening my time-blinded eyes to see my glorious possibilities. So Ernest Holmes says life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. I want to think about that for a second. Let's talk about that. Remember when you were a little kid and you used to tell stories, somebody would start and you might go around the room, and there were like infinite number of possibilities the way that the story could end, right? And as Candace said in the song, the lyric says, over time our eyes get blinded and the possibilities become smaller and smaller and less. And yet, if life is a mirror reflecting back to us what we're seeing, what we're thinking, we're living in this tiny little vacuum instead of this wonderful world with glorious possibilities. So take a moment this morning with me, and I want you to think of an experience in your life that you either intentionally or unintentionally created, that life mirrored back to you exactly what you planted into it. So just take a second or two and close your eyes if you need to, and don't if you don't need to. Now I want you to, if that thing gave you exactly what you wanted, it was an intentional thing that you created, I want you to close your eyes again. And if that situation gave you something that you didn't want, that perhaps you unintentionally created, I still want you to close your eyes again. And then I want you to see it through the eyes of a child, where there are limitless possibilities of how this situation could, whether it's a past experience or a current experience you're going through. I want you to imagine a new possibility, a new outcome. No holds barred. Nothing is impossible to you. Let's open our eyes again. And that only took how many seconds? Thank you. Because I don't choose my clock. That we have the power to do that every minute of every day. Reverend Chris said, talk about something you're passionate about, and I was like, oh my God, that's like a kid in a candy store. Like, I'm passionate about practically everything. But I really kept asking myself, what is it I'm super passionate about? I'm super passionate about our magnificence and us living from that place every single day. And noticing the traps that we might get caught in throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, that prevent us from having that experience. And it really is just that quick that we can change our outlook on that thing. We can open our time-blinded eyes to glorious possibilities, even in the worst situation. That situation is happening, but if I'm sitting there going, this is awful, this is awful, this is awful, this is awful, that's also how I'm going to experience it. I might not like it. I don't even have to know what caused it there, how I got in the middle of it, you know what I mean? But I'm in it. So how do I want to experience myself in that? In the Science of Mind textbook, there's actually a little subsection called the possibilities of the law. The possibilities of the law are infinite, and our possibilities of using it are limitless. We may and should receive full benefit, and we will to the degree that we use it properly. So I have to say, when I saw the word properly, I was like, properly? That sounds a little strict and rigid. And then I was like, okay, open your mind, right? Properly, what does that mean? Okay, so here's where I landed for me. It means using it in the direction of something that I want that's in the benefit of me, and if it's in the benefit of me, then it's going to be in the benefit of you. Because I'm a person who wants to leave the world a better place than I found it, and I believe that we all are, or you wouldn't be in a church called HeartSpace, where you can come as you are, right? Each week you come here to remember the truth of who you are, and then go out that door, and then be that. So whatever you want is going to be the use of that properly, but it needs our intention and our attention. In order to open our time-blinded eyes to experience a wonderful world, glorious possibilities, it needs our attention and intention. So I've been thinking about this a lot. Where do we place most of our attention? And where do we place most of our intention throughout the day? Whether it's doing our dishes, or driving to work, or we are in traffic. You are the infinite life of spirit. You're magnificent, you're gifted, you're brilliant, you're talented beyond measure. Now, how do you know yourself as that? Because I bet Chris and tons of books and workshops you guys have read and been to, we all say the same thing. Well, I think I've discovered something, so I'm going to share it with you. You guys probably already know this because you're smarter than me. I'm going to say so. That's my story. I like it. It's a good one. Okay, so I think it's this. Chris, help me out.
It's not under my chair.
I think it's as life happens and my deciding to stand for what I believe in, to be the magnificent expression of God, right? To be a divine, powerful expression of God. That's how I get to know myself as that. That's how I get to experience myself as that. That's how I get to experience you guys as that. Instead of doing our knee-jerk habitual reaction, which I'm sure nobody here does, right? And goes to the, oh my God, this is like, I don't know how to do this, and where the money going to come from, and I don't have enough time, and all of that stuff, right? Doesn't the second we believe and buy into that, doesn't it shrink our possibilities? It collapses the gifts that not only are in us waiting to come forth, but it collapses the gifts that are present for us in the experience. And so we really want to be intentional about how we are being throughout our day. We want our beingness to inform our doingness. We want to take a moment every day for spiritual practice. Now, I'm not a person who's going to get up an hour before her day and do that. Someday I plan to be that person, but I'm not really and I'm really okay with that. But I like, you know, my spiritual practice is really kind of cool. I'm not advocating that people do this, but I am sharing it with you because, you know, you might be like me. I'm sure I'm not the only one. It happens throughout the day. It happens throughout experiences throughout the day. Every moment I have the opportunity to stop and pause and remember who I am and remember who you are. And there are times when that may be more challenging, but I now have tapped into when I feel triggered, and one of my triggers is my shoulders go up to by my ears. The second they start to rise, I have learned to keep my mouth closed. To not say anything to the person I'm dealing with, because I can promise you that what I'm going to say is not remember the God in you or the God in me. So I either get on my computer and pretend to send you an email that I'm not going to send, but it takes me about 29 times to type it, and then I call probably Chris or Michael. I send it to somebody, and then I actually really don't even send the email, because what I've learned is if I can be with it long enough, my child experienced something with the adults in her life, and she made up a story about it, and she's triggered in this now experience. And if I can sit with that discomfort and that, you know, they're not including me or whatever my story is long enough, I can actually get to what's going on. And that's not really true. And then something even bigger opens up to me. And this is a very real practice that I do. This is really, it took a long time to get here. And I'm not saying that it takes anybody else a long time to get here. But it took me a while to get here. A few weeks ago, I called Chris because I was really triggered because I figured my uncles had left me out of something, and you know, I was going to speak up for myself, because when it comes to people I love, I have not been the best up until now in speaking up for myself. I go like, well, it's the good of everyone, and yada yada yada, and like I have this knot in my throat. Anyway, so I write these emails, which I never send. And it was around my dad's memorial service, and we had one in Dallas, and they had one back east that we had agreed to have a month later, and that me and my children, and my brother and his children and his wife were going to be able to attend. Well, somehow that didn't work out like that, but we did wind up having a memorial service for my dad on the same day in Dallas and in Virginia, so that was really cool. I was quiet for about 4 days actually, and I didn't send the email, and I was coming up the stairs to my home, and I realized, oh my God, they're just like me. People were like, when are you going to have a service for your dad? And they probably were like, oh my God, we need to bring some closure, we need to do something. And they just did it. By the time I walked through the door, it was like, oh, when my parents divorced and I didn't get to go with my dad's family, I felt left out. I felt less than. I felt like not like less than somehow. And all of that came up in a conversation with my uncles on Sunday night. that I wasn't able to articulate by me saying, sure, it's okay if you have a service from my dad and I'm not there. So if I would have sent that email, even though Chris and Michael like really helped me polish it up, I would have still been making up a story that I was a victim and somehow I'd been left out, whereas I was able to see I wasn't left out. And how cool is that? My dad's like this trucker that's driven over 5 million saved miles. He was so loved. He had a service in 2 places. So there was like, and I could have shut that down. I could have said, absolutely not, we cannot have this service without us being there. You know what I mean? So there's so many possibilities that had I reacted from that place, that would have not only not happened for me, but not happened for his family and his friends and his brothers who lost their oldest brother. And so I share that with you because even when it's challenging, we want to stop and pause. What do I really believe is true about me? What do I really believe is true about life? If life is for me, if I'm a magnificent expression, how is that magnificent expression showing up right here and right now? So I love the word possibilities. I don't know, like I probably should work for an ad company where you get to make like corny tags and slogans because I love that kind of stuff. There's a lot of material in that stuff. And so I was looking this morning on possibilities. I was Googling just the word possibilities, quotes on possibilities, stuff. Okay, so right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, 2 businesses. One business is called Impossible Possibilities. And it is an organization. They operate in Terrence in Dallas County. And their mission, the mission of Impossible Possibilities, is to inspire students through education. And they have a tag that says, be an element of change. And I thought that was really cool. And if you go to their website, they revisit their mission and vision every year. And they tell you what they're going to be doing for the year and how you can contribute. I also found a website called mypossibilities.org. There was all these things around possibilities. And so I use those things to think of that's the way the universe is speaking to me. It speaks to me in songs. It speaks to me in the names of business. It speaks to me, through words of conversations with friends. Those are ways that I can open my time-blinded eyes. Like, I think the universe is constantly talking to us. I don't think it's like just on Sunday morning. Like there's all this stuff between now and the time you get home, it's time to go to bed. And yes, it might be like a shiny ball to try to follow all of the things that the universe is saying. But they're always in the direction of whatever our intention is. So, and where our attention is, right? So if our intention is to live from our full, divine, expressive self as often as possible in every moment possible, then everything in our day and everything in our week is in service to that. Imagine that for a second. Close your eyes. Now imagine that it is a Monday morning, and just before your feet hit the floor, you're waking up. But you're waking up with the awareness that everything is in service to you, that your life is a gift, and you have all of the resources you need. Sit in that for a minute. What does that feel like? How does it feel like to begin your day? That the possibilities are endless, that life is for you. And everything throughout your day, throughout your week, every conversation, every trip in the car, everything is in service to your intention. Now expand a little bit. Everything that you encounter from birth to now until we leave is in service to our magnificence. And life is so glorious and so supportive that it tells us over and over and over and over in limitless ways. So when you're ready, come back. It also says in that subsection of the possibilities of the law, if day by day we have a greater understanding and a clearer concept, if day by day we have a greater understanding and a clearer concept, what we just did is a clearer concept. and a greater understanding, because it's not just here, it was here. Did you feel it? Now, we've done just like a couple practices in how many seconds, Chris, now?
It's minutes.
Okay, minutes, okay. In just a few minutes. But do you see what I was saying about instead of having like one, and for everybody who does have one spiritual practice in the morning, God bless you, I love you, and thank you. But that's not how I roll. Mine is periodic experiences throughout the day. And that's important in the lives that we lead now, because the truth is, yes, some people are morning people and they can sit for an hour and read and journal and pray and all that stuff. Mine happens throughout the day, and I don't actually think one is better and that mine is wrong. I just think they're different. I actually think that God gave me my spiritual practice that way, so I won't think that I don't know how to do when I'm faced with a difficult situation, or I'm sitting in traffic, or I'm making an agenda for my day, and if that all goes to pot, because that doesn't happen that way, right? I can, in any instant, access that divine presence. That's right here, that's right there, that's right here as my task, as my job, as my car, as the traffic, as the mechanic, as the dishes, as laundry, which actually like folding laundry. I don't know why I'm but I do, it's weird. Yay. No, I just like folding it at my house. And maybe I'm happy to be selfish with that, and I might share with Chris, Michael, and Micah. More like Micah. Little people laundry. But I think that like our everyday life is the opportunity to see that, to see who we are, to experience that, instead of it just being, I got my spiritual practice here. And yes, it does carry you. It is cumulative. It is an awesome investment. But I don't know if your day is like crazy like my day is. I need like refreshers throughout the day. And I think that's the way the universe operates. If day by day we have a greater understanding and a clear concept, if daily we are realizing more truth and applying it in our actions, we are on the right path. If we are applying it in our actions, that's easy to do. That's very, very easy to do. You can find your own way. I like to put on Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think I've told people that before. Because some of their lyrics are so great. Shining Star. Like they're so great. So we have all these different opportunities to remember who we are and be that. And as you do that, what happens? Let's go back to the top. We have all these possibilities, these glorious possibilities in our situation. Let's apply that, let's say, to our finances, right? And you think, I just have this set amount of money come in every month, and that's all I have. But I've got this right here that needs to come. What if you opened your mind like a little kid and you told a story? Ooh, well, the universe supports me. There are so many different ways money could come to me that I haven't even discovered yet. The universe, I'm going to be open to all those ways right here, right now. It just starts like that. An impossible, maybe we might call it, but add possibility. I want to finish with this company, Impossible Possibilities, their vision statement, to be an element of change. Impossible Possibilities inspire students through education by conditioning eager minds for the ascent up the corridors of life's unexplored mountain ranges. Seasoned minds evoke creative imaginations, and creative imaginations breathe life into the most subtle of ideas. And a single glimmer is all that is needed to make a difference in the world. And this idea in action rapidly becomes an element of change. I know that was a mouthful, but I want to talk about, for just a really quick second, inspire students through education by conditioning eager minds for the ascent up the corridors of life's unexplored mountain ranges. Everything I talked about, our regular life, is the unexplored mountain ranges of life. And we don't have to be children to have eager minds. We have seasoned minds. But we need to take off those time-blinded eyes so that we can evoke our creative imaginations. And a single glimmer is all that is needed to make a difference in the world. How about we start with our world? A single glimmer is all we need. And this idea in action rapidly becomes an element of change. So my invitation to you this week is to look for those glimmers, to be that glimmer, be that element of change, open to the field of glorious possibilities. That's what we're here for. Let us pray. How very grateful I am and deeply honored to talk about my favorite thing, God. To talk about the glorious and magnificent and wonderful ways that God shows up on this planet. And how fitting to talk about it on Earth Day. That God shows up as man. God shows up perfectly, wholly, uniquely, as each one of us here. And it is through our connection with God, not one connection, but connecting all day long, God within and God around us. But the field of possibilities is limitless, wide open, waiting for our discovery of it. Partnering with us, demonstrating through us and for us. This is the truth I know about who all of mankind is and what I know specifically about the people in this room and this beloved community called HeartSpace. The ever daily invitation to connect with the heart, the place where God resides, the place that has all of the wisdom that we shall ever need. And I know that as we do so, not only are our lives lifted, but the lives of so many around us are lifted. The lives of those in our immediate family and our friends, our coworkers. The consciousness everywhere is changed and lifted. And so I celebrate that. I celebrate the unleashing and the revealing of our glorious possibilities and leaving here no longer fooled by time-blinded eyes. I call it good and perfect. And we accept this as already so together by saying,